What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video and another year. And as with last year, 2024, the first video of 2025 is going to be about all the iPods I currently own, and these are just the ones that I got in last week's video. These are not all of them, but these are definitely the best ones. I literally wrapped these in microfiber cloth because what they are is third-generation Apple iPods like this one, except unlike this one, which is in quite nice condition, these are in quite literally perfect condition. No scratches, except if I accidentally put any there. That's why they're wrapped in microfiber cloth, because these things scratch when you breathe on them, which is why I'm doing my best to protect them. And also a second generation Apple iPod, much the same, and these are iPod Nanos, pretty much perfect condition as well. But I'm not gonna relive last week's video and this week's video. We're gonna talk about all the iPods I own. And so we got a container and another container, and these are all of them. Obviously a lot more than in last year's video. Oh my gosh, what is this? iPod Nanos and another handful. I'm gonna have to start measuring them in handfuls. Last year I didn't have handfuls, but this year I do, and I'm really gonna be afraid to see what 2026's video holds. We're not there yet. Last week's iPods aside, what iPods do I currently have? This is not a flex because, to be honest, most of these together all in one bunch are probably not worth any more than a new iPhone because, well, the iPod Nano is 20 years old now. But really, these are cool and all, but they're not worth what they were when they were new, even if they work. And I definitely didn't film this video already and realized that I accidentally had the audio volume set wrong, so the whole video sounded bad, and I'm not filming this a second time. No, I'm not. But seeing as I'm filming it a second time, I can make some improvements, such as testing them with these devices here. So we've got a charger, and we've got this, which is a cable I bought that might burn my house down. I don't know how good it is, but you see, it's one of those cables, but it has an on-off switch on it. So I can take my charger, plug it in there, plug all the iPods in, flick a switch, and then we can see what happens all at once. No one cares? Okay, let's move on. Because of content value, we're going to be opening this charger for the first time, because obviously we got to do the unboxing experience. We can just discard this, grab the charger out. My God, why is it stuck? At least they included the charger with the charger, unlike Apple. Okay, we can test it using one of my mini Apple iPods. Plug it in, on switch. And now there's something. Off? And it doesn't... Why is there such a delay to on-off? You see, when you unplug it... Oh, that's capacitors in the charger. 6 USB port charger, 6 30-pin cables. That really inspires confidence in their quality. Start with the iPod Nanos. This should be most of them. Let's see, there's 4 first generations here. This one has a crack in the screen. That's why I wrote it there. One day we'll fix it. A lot of these are fixer-upper iPods, and some of them should work without any issues. Let's hope most of them. And then our on switch. The screens all light up at once. And the cracked one, it should work. Cracky boy over here isn't showing any signs of life. We're gonna have to resort to ye old firewire cable. And it turns on just like that. And I wrote crack over it, but you can see there's a crack there. Too working and too stupid, because this one is always in complain and restore mode, except when you restore it, nothing happens. Just keeps saying restore me. But I think I know what killed this iPod Nano, and I think it was my fault, because in a member video, I was testing the AquaPod, which was some terrible iPod accessory, and this thing may or may not have gotten minor exposure to water. And I'm saying minor. We're talking about droplets. We're not talking about submersion. We're talking about the equivalent of a spray bottle spraying on this thing once. But these guys here are fine. And then on to Nano 2s. I should have a number of them here. 2, 3. I think I have more, but I don't know where the heck they are. I do have other iPods elsewhere, such as... Well, let me get them. Such as this iPod Nano, I don't want to get separated because it's one I've been using to test the I Love, whatchamacallit, a 20-year-old battery pack that still holds a charge for like 30 hours of use. Then I got an iPod Touch I painted for some reason, and then a 4th generation iPod for a video in the future. So there's others elsewhere. Some of them that probably fell in cracks and corners that'll be lost until I find them again. But apart from that, the ones I'm going to show are most of them. But if you could count parts of iPods and partially working iPods, then I'd have a lot more. Oh wait, there's another second generation I didn't see. And some of these will get the spot of death if I leave them plugged in for too long. I just won't leave them plugged in for too long. Spot means when the battery expands and there's not enough room for it to expand. And it goes away after a time if you don't leave your iPod plugged in. One of these third gens still has it though. Yeah, see right there? It's very small, but it'll be a lot bigger once I plug this guy in. You see? That's the battery. Right there, all those squishes, that's bad and can cause fire, but only if you plug it in, which I'll be doing later in this video, but not for very long, and I'll make sure to not burn anything down. And these iPods are doing something, are they? No battery power remains. I thought I just plugged you in, buddy. I remember this one not working. It shouldn't work. Sometimes iPods change their mind. This one, oh, bad screen. And this one has no hat, but works just fine. Turns on. Yeah, $24.99 at one point. Apple logo. Yeah, oh yeah, this cable's better. It's on, works just fine, but won't hold a charge. So there's the second generations. And then third generations. I do have more than this. Watched last week's video, but these are the ones that I had already. It looks like I have 5 of them, and one of them has the spot currently. We'll plug this guy in last for a very brief amount of time. We can weigh them down with this, and then we can turn the switch into the on position. All of them have Apple logos, and some were slightly faster than others, but they all turned on roughly the exact same time. Middle button, no click. Turns on. Oh, I wrote that on there last year. So it's still the same. Okay, bub. This guy is working as well. I hate the click wheels on these things. They're way too fast. This one here clicks and works as well. Same with this one. And unplug. These two are 4 gigabytes. These two are 8 gigabytes. 24 gigabytes is not very much, and it would take a lot of iPods to equal one iPhone in current capacity. But actually, that's a lot of music, but not a lot of storage. But those are your 4 working third gens, and the guy that has the spot, which will definitely get worse when I plug it in, because that's what happens, and it's turning on. This is not advisable. Do not do this. Do not plug an iPod in that has the spot, and never plug it back in unless you want it to get worse and your iPod to stop working forever. And this iPod works, apart from the major problem that is that I did not test any of these iPods when I filmed the video the first time, so that's why this is all new to me. It has a bunch of lines and there's an Apple logo showing up, but that's more than nothing. And then this one, the actual Vector Pod, the one that has the spot of death, or had the spot of death. It's gone now because of time, and it took a long time for it to go away, let me tell you. But this is the one I made all those YouTube shorts about, lots of reviews and whatnot. And I plan on one day putting a new battery in it because it still works, actually. This is the first time I've tested it since I filmed those videos, by the way, been over a year. If I left it plugged in, it would get the spot again. I shouldn't even be plugging it in the first place. But we're talking about content here, so I'm plugging it in, and look, guys, the video camera, it's got the camera. I'm going to unplug it so it won't get the spot again. In fact, it actually is already showing up if I press on the screen, and before it wasn't doing that. So that's why you don't plug in iPods that had the spot at one point, because if you plug them in again, they will get it again. Move it aside. Let's get the 6th generation Nano in here. This one works, except it has an absolutely bad battery. Have made a video about this before. It's like an Apple Watch, except it isn't. And yeah, it's got 8 apps. You can put music on it because it's an iPod, and yeah, it doesn't live after you unplug it. And then we've got this, the 7th generation Nano. Oh, what's this? It has a lightning port, but thankfully for this one, it actually holds somewhat of a charge, so I don't need to plug it in for it to be turned on. This thing is much like the 6th generation in that you interact with it with gestures. Also, you can, but unlike the 6th generation, it also has a home button. So it's quite the little device, actually. And we've got the iPod Touches. I do have more than this. In fact, I have probably 2 times more than this. 3 times more than this, maybe, actually, because I have a bunch of them that barely work, or half work, or need fixing. And these ones actually have no problems. And actually, most of these probably have their own battery life left in them. This one does, and so is this one. 1st generation and 2nd generation. This one has a very cursed timer on it, and I'm not sure how it got there, because you see the cancel button. I've used this thing as a timer before, and then one day I opened the timer app, and it suddenly had like 50 some years on the timer. Plug all 3, and I've got the on switch. And if you're testing old iOS devices like this, do not be discouraged if they do not show signs of life right away. Sometimes they take forever to even show the charging symbol on them, like this charging thing. Sometimes it takes forever to get to this point if they haven't been plugged in for a while. These were recently turned on, like last week, because I got these 2 ones last week, but this one here has not had power in who knows how long. So it might take 5 minutes for it to show signs of life. So we'll let them do their thing off camera while we look at some of the other iPods I have. Let's turn these off. Don't need to get them draining their battery life. Here I have my iPod Shuffles, which are pretty much all probably not working, and this one's actually not a real iPod Shuffle. Yeah, there are several 4th generations in here, 2nd generations and 4th generations. 4th generation is the square one, 2nd generation is the rectangle one, 3rd generation is this peculiar device here, and then the 20-year-old iPod Shuffle, the one that just turned 20 years old now that we're in 2025, that's what this is. They are actually probably the only iPod Shuffles that are not bricked in modern times, just because of the fact that you cannot use any of these other iPod Shuffles while charging them, because this one happens to have an iPod Shuffle charging cable plugged into it. Notice how the headphone jack is also the charging port. I don't think I need to tell you that a headphone jack is for headphones, and if you can't plug headphones into your headphone jack, you can't listen to music. And if the battery is bad, like on many of these iPods I've shown today, where you unplug it and it dies immediately, you see a problem. You can use these while charging it because they got a USB port and a headphone jack, but the other ones, you can't. So if your iPod doesn't really hold a charge, you just can't use it. So I believe that's 9 iPod shuffles altogether. Most of them are pretty much just props at this point. But hey, that's what that is. And I also just found another iPod Touch. This is an iPod Touch 3rd generation, so it's different than the others. And speaking of the others, I think I heard some sounds from them. Does this one do anything yet? Oh, it's doing something now that I press the on button, and it has lines on its screen for some reason. And this one here, just fine. And this one's also just fine. Nice. They work, and this one just turned off. And it says it's low battery now. That might be this cable's fault. Touch 3 is turning on. Oh yes. Slide to unlock. There it goes, and it just turned on, and now we're going to unplug it. Didn't die straight away. Probably won't last long though. And you want to know what all these iOS devices are when you put them together? Well, we've got 8 times 3 plus 32 plus 16 plus 16. 88 gigabytes in all these Apple iPods. That's probably less than your phone. So anyway, that's the iPod Touches, except obviously there's this one, which originally I thought didn't work, now works. Anyway, it's an iPod Touch. Obviously, it's a Gen 6, second to last one. It's kind of in a different category. It's just a completely different era. And now we're getting into real iPod territory. That's right. Subscribe to my channel, the real iPods. And I count the iPod Mini in that because I like the iPod Mini. I actually use this iPod Mini for music every day. Yes, it's a pink one, but it's also the only one I own that's a 6 gigabyte version, which is the highest they made in iPod Mini. And that's kind of cool, honestly, because it's a mechanical hard drive. 6 gigabyte. Maybe if I get a different color 6 gigabyte Mini one day, I will, well, switch it out. 3 iPod Minis, of course, not counting this monstrosity, which does count. And obviously, this one works, the one I use music for every day, because, well, I couldn't use a not working iPod for that purpose, now could I? And then we got the monstrosity one here. It's got its pickle jar filled with pennies for a weighted stand. Plug it, and obviously I made a video about this. Oh, it's turning on. I have the original box for this particular iPod. Oh, did this one actually do something? I saw the Apple logo. I bumped it, and it did the Apple logo thing. And this one too? Yeah, they both have somewhat of a charge in them. And this one, it works. iPod minis aside, we've got the real iPods. This one, and this one, and this one, and these ones, and this one. Obviously wrapped in microfiber cloth because these are in mint condition. Don't need to get them out of their sealed tomb for now. This one here, I made a video about it. It was very problematic. In fact, the original guts for this one are in here, and we got a bit of a Ship of Theseus problem. This one requires an Apple Firewire cable to turn on in the first place, but this one actually holds its charge because I put a new battery in it, put an iFlash board in it, put a new front and back case on it. Still works brilliantly. Have not plugged it in like 2 months. Still has half battery. I believe it. And this one's turning on, taking its sweet time because it's got a big, fat 40 gigabyte mechanical hard drive. It's working. 2003 iPod, 21 years old now. Unplug, and it's dead. So this pile is all the iPods I have in 2025. Of course, you can't forget these, the nicest of the bunch. What do you think? Which ones should I obtain next? Speaking of obtaining more iPods, January 11th, 2025. Not only is my channel going to be an 8-year-old, it's 8 years old because 2017 is 8 years ago. Fortnite is 8 years old. It's as old as the people that play it. But the thing is, January 11th of 2005, the iPod Shuffle was released. That means these guys I showed off earlier in the video are now 20 years old, 1 year away from being old enough to drink legally in the United States, such as I just turned 21 recently, or in November. Good for me. I'm old. But a video I've been planning for quite some time on my channel's 8th birthday. We have the ultimate first generation iPod Shuffle video coming because I've spent months obtaining original accessories, new in their packaging for the original iPod Shuffle. All these are now 20 years old, new in their packaging. And what's that? An iPod Shuffle that's new in its packaging, and I thought it'd be funny to get one that has like random company on it. This one's Verilux. We're going to be unboxing this. I make a member video every time I post, and I'm going to be talking about my 2025 goals this time like I did last year, except hopefully it doesn't crash and burn, and I'll make another video later on about how I got burnt out on doing too much at once. But I've learned from that, you see, hopefully. Subscriber bad. Bye.